In 1992, Jim Obergefell and John Arthur meet at a bar near the University of Cincinnati. The two fall in love and live happily in Ohio for 20 years. Then, John receives the devastating news that he is diagnosed with amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, also known as ALS. This is a progressive neurodegenerative disease that damages the nerve cells in the brain and spinal cord, making it harder for nerves to communicate with muscles. This damage leads to muscle weakness, atrophy, paralysis, and even death, usually as a result of respiratory issues. John received his diagnosis in 2011. John's ALS progresses very quickly. By 2013, John has lost most of his voluntary motor function. Both Jim and John know John is at the end of his life, and they decide they should finally get married. Jim's friends and family raised $14,000 to charter a medical jet to fly Jim and John to Maryland, where same-sex marriage is legal so they can get married. They land at the Baltimore-Washington International Thurgood Marshall Airport, and John's aunt officiates the marriage. The ceremony takes place on the plane since John is too sick to get out of bed. You may now kiss the groom. After the two get married, John is given just a few months to live and told to get his papers in order. This is when it comes out that the state of Ohio is refusing to recognize the marriage, and John will be listed as single on his death certificate. This news is heartbreaking to the couple. A civil rights lawyer, Al Hardestein, files a lawsuit against the Ohio governor and attorney general on behalf of the couple. The judge rules that the state of Ohio must recognize the marriage between Jim Obergefell and John Arthur. 3 months after the pair got married, John passes due to ALS. After John passes, the state of Ohio overturns the previous ruling. Jim Obergefell, unhappy with this change, filed an appeal of the ruling. This appeal ends up going all the way to the Supreme Court. But Jim wasn't the only one trying to get his marriage recognized. Many other couples had sued their relative state agencies in Ohio, Michigan, Kentucky, and Tennessee. These couples had used arguments referencing the Equal Protection Clause and the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment, and one group even brought claims under the Civil Rights Act. Jim's argument was that the 14th Amendment should require a state to license a marriage between two people of the same sex, and that it should be upheld if the marriage was legally licensed and performed in another state. The Constitution does not directly address the issue of same-sex marriage, so it is up to the Supreme Court to determine if it should be recognized. The Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment guarantees the right to marry, so it applies to both same and opposite-sex couples. The right to marry is a fundamental liberty because, among other things, it is crucial to the concept of individual autonomy, and it protects one of the strongest relationships between two people, and more importantly, it protects children and families because it is a legal action and is considered crucial to a social order. Since there is no difference between same and opposite-sex couples from a social perspective, denying same-sex couples the right to marry would be denying them a fundamental liberty. The Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment also guarantees same-sex couples the right to marry because it protects the fundamental right to marry. After all the arguments were heard, Justice Anthony M. Kennedy delivered the opinion for the 5-4 majority. The right of same-sex couples to marry is determined to be protected under the 14th Amendment.